Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two trucks having sex. Two trucks having sex. My muscles involuntarily flex. Two pickup trucks making love, American made.
Listen up, Autothoughts and Decepticlowns. You are listening to Prime Cuts, a non-linear history of the Transformers franchise on television. I'm one of your hosts, Nero.
I'm your other host, Audrey.
Energon. It's still happening.
My God, it is still happening.
Although I will say, at least some shit happens in these episodes. At least, like, events occur.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, you said last week that 16 was the peak, and I think these were better episodes.
That's true. I think
for the most part.
There's like a little bit of a hump. There's a little bit of a hope spot you get after 16, and then it really kicks in.
What is really remarkable about this set of episodes is that the interesting part of it is Kicker.
Yeah, for sure. I think in both versions. Let us just jump right into this goddamn thing here with the very first episode, the second episode in the dub to have a spelling mistake in its title.
Is there no E in Heroes?
Nope. It is A Tale of Two Heroes.
Didn't notice that. Didn't even register when I was like writing it down because I obviously wrote it down correctly because I know how to spell. But
Unlike whoever the fuck was doing the text formatting for the English dub title treatments. A Tale of Two Heroes, or in Superlink, Confrontation: The Two Convoys. As the Miranda 2 warps into the vicinity of Unicron's body, Rodimus appears and asks to board. Optimus, not knowing the whole working for Alpha Q thing, accepts. Inferno explains to Misha how the two have been ideologically opposed since the war. Rodimus attempts to convince Optimus that using Unicron to create life would be better than destroying him, telling him about Alpha Q's destroyed planet. Prime rejects this and Rodimus leaves. Ironhide prepares to follow him, telling Kicker that this is something he needs to do alone. As the Autobots battle against Megatron's defenses, Ironhide sneaks onto Unicron's head, where Rodimus vouches for him to Alpha Q. The latter sends Scorponok to test him, and after a fight where Ironhide proves himself to be determined, Scorponok brings him to Alpha Q.
So head?
Yeah, so head. Ironhide went to get head. That is what happened in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I can just go through my notes very quickly if you'd like me to.
Yeah, what do you have?
So my first note is that I really like the Guitar Hero controller of Alpha Q's new head.
Oh yeah, he does. He does have like the little things on his beard that kind of look like the frets. You're right.
It is absolutely the frets of a Guitar Hero controller. It's great. It's nice to look at. This early conversation where Optimus like invites Rodimus on board is very funny because they are clearly having two separate conversations. Like, Optimus is genuinely very happy to see Rodimus. He's very warm and welcoming, and he goes, like, Rodimus, it's been too long, let's catch up. And Rodimus is so not having it.
Yeah.
He is so uninterested in talking to Optimus, and you can, like, see that he's doing it through, like, gritted teeth, which is very funny. I also like the concept, so... What's great about Energon is it's doing a lot of concepts and shows I've watched recently, but very much worse. So I just finished watching Star Trek Discovery, which its last season like wrapped up a month ago. It like wrapped up in June. And the final season, for anyone who knows anything about the Star Trek series, is about finding the technology from the progenitors, which were a species introduced in the Next Generation, who created all life ever. And the last season of Discovery is about finding the technology that allowed them to create all life ever. So that's kind of what we have going on with Unicron here, just worse.
Yeah, so in this set of episodes we reveal a new thing that Unicron can do, which is like he kind of holds all of the pieces of the stuff he's absorbed and eaten inside of him. And if you know which strings to pull, you can make him spit it back out. Which is which is how Alpha Q created the Terracons and what Rodimus wants to do, because as we learn later, he's pretty much entirely motivated by like, man, I really fucked up and forgot to save Alpha Q's planet. Oops.
Yeah. He's like, I have a life debt to Alpha Q, and it's like, why? Because I didn't save his people. That wasn't your fault. Well,
I did promise him that I would, and then I didn't show up. So it's kind of. I like this line from the wiki here. Kicker asks Inferno how Rodimus and Optimus know each other. Inferno tells him a story that doesn't answer the question.
Oh, Christ alive. There's also a really great moment where right after Ironhide has gone off to Unicron's head on his own, Kicker's like sort of holding down the fort, and like Hotshot comes up to him and is like, hey, so like, what's up? Where's Ironhide? And Kicker's like, okay, you can't tell anyone, right? But he went to Unicron, and Hotshot's like, and like, why would he do that? And Kicker's like, it's just something he feels like he has to do himself. And Hotshot's like, yeah, I understand that. And then immediately calls Optimus and is like, hey, Optimus.
Yeah. It's the same in the dub.
Kicker's like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's so funny because like, he says, I remember being reckless and stupid when I was the Kid Appeal character, and then he immediately narcs on him.
And like so casually, like without taking a breath between saying, I understand that. Anyway, Optimus.
He's like, I have my own duties to attend to, you know? Can we
Yeah.
talk about beautiful Bishi Ironhide? Can we talk about like teary-eyed, hand-drawn Ironhide?
Now, Ironhide is not in bondage in this episode.
No.
Technically. He is, however, immobilized.
He does, yeah. He also finds a room full of eggs. So yeah, we like most of the rest of this episode is just like fucking all of the guys on the Miranda 2 blowing up Terracons. But Ironhide, meanwhile, goes on like a little side quest. First, he fights a room full of cruel lock drones, which are the fucking ugly Dinobots. And then he and Scorponok have like a little tete-a-tete, and he he headbutts Scorponok and knocks himself out. And this is somehow Scorponok goes, you are a proud warrior. You are worthy to speak to Alpha Q.
It's more like... I mean, it doesn't make any more sense in a dub, obviously. It never makes more sense in a dub. In the dub, though, it's more like, like, you've shown that your intentions are good.
Right.
Which also does not make sense if you headbutt someone to knock yourself out.
Yeah, and in Super Link, he's explicitly testing Ironhide's strength. It's like, are you even worth... Are you worth it? Will you help me be able to like be useful to Alpha Q?
Yeah. And I have to say, like, again, we've talked about this before. The voice actors in this show are professionals and they do good work elsewhere. This is not a place where they do good work.
No.
And this episode in particular, Ironhide's voice acting is atrocious.
Yeah.
Like, notably terrible. And he's just like, and again, like part of that is like the Nick Cage syndrome, right? Where it's like when you're giving when you're doing the best job that you can with an absurd, terrible script.
Yeah.
It comes off as you being in the fault. Some of it, I think, is actually the acting, but whatever the case, it's not. It's simply not on.
The thing about the Ironhide voice, because he's voiced by Matt Hill, who also voices Ed. It's so close to his Ed voice. It's so like if
it's
you
also extremely close to his Carlos voice.
Yes.
In fact, perhaps not at all differentiable from his Carlos voice.
God forbid if they ever share a scene together. I don't think they ever have in this show, but man.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else we have for these? I mean, there's just stuff. Like,
that I'm.
Rodimus.
Just that I'm going to kill myself before I have to listen to Snowcat yodel again.
Bad news. He's in every episode basically, and he does indeed do that shit all the time forever.
Guess I'm killing myself.
I did have one note about Landmine's Japanese voice. You know, the big orange guy who hangs out with Rodimus. In the sub, they gave him like an old-fashioned samurai way of speaking. He says like Degozaru and stuff.
Like Keigo?
Yeah, he refers to himself with Sesha. So
With
he's like
Sesha? I thought you were going to say Watashi, but with Sesha. Wow, okay, yeah.
He's like an old school samurai guy, which I think is kind of a fun characterization for him.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing else for A Tale of Two Heroes, I mean, I guess it's like the thing is like the sub has more stuff about like I said in the summary. Rodimus and Optimus have like more ideological differences, like their methods just aren't the same, and that's why they have friction. But that kind of just gets glossed over in the dub. It doesn't really become a factor. Like Misha says in the sub, they're on two different paths, but they're both heroes, that sort of thing. And if there's nothing else, I suppose we can move on to episode. What the fuck is this one?
This one is episode 19, Battle Stations.
Or Terror, Unicron activates.
So this one starts off with a recap.
Yeah, Kicker begins by recapping the events of the show leading up to this. Optimus orders a full attack on Unicron, which for some reason entails flying inside of him and utterly destroying the Miranda 2's Energon grid. They then draw Unicron into a space bridge where they engage him in a running battle. Meanwhile, Ironhide is waking up inside Unicron's head, which causes Kicker to have a new type moment. He demands Optimus let him off the bus early to find him. Optimus refuses, but Kicker does it anyway. Misha goes too. The battle on the Miranda 2 intensifies until they reach their destination, Cybertron, not Earth, as Megatron thought. The planet is now covered in Energon towers, and Rad uses them to blast Unicron, which causes the Decepticons to retreat. Kicker and Misha get picked up by Rodimus, who tells them Alpha Q would like to meet.
So one thing I want to point out from the beginning of this episode is that Kicker literally says the same thing I was complaining about last episode, which is that everyone wants the same thing.
Yeah.
Kicker's like, hey, we're like recapping this. And he's like, so Rodimus, Alpha Q, and the Decepticons all want to revive Unicron, and that seems bad. It's like, why?
Can we talk about Geodude Unicron?
I mean, if you'd like to.
Okay. So this is where we encounter one of the problems with Energon. We're already at Unicron now. They will like fight and destroy Unicron like 4 times over the course of this show.
Each time better than the last.
Sure, but reverse that. And it's just like it just becomes a fucking endless slog, and they just keep adding more bullshit onto it. But this thing of partially transformed Unicron with his arms like popping out of the planet moment is so goofy looking.
How do I look, babe? Bad. Is this the day he loses the bet? Is this the day he loses the house? So
okay, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Did they blow up the Miranda 2's Energon grid on purpose to try and like lure Unicron into the like lure Megatron after them, or is Optimus just fucking stupid?
No idea. Could not tell you.
Yeah, it's not any clearer in the sub if you're wondering.
Yeah. I want to talk about Kicker being asking to get off the bus early.
Yeah. Because
once again, we have Optimus as the like least sympathetic character I think I've ever seen. So Kicker's like, hey, I sense Ironhide inside Unicron. If we don't go save him, he'll die. And Optimus's response to this is basically, yeah, and whose fault is that?
He says the same shit. Superlink is like, well, he was the one who went.
Yeah, he's
Dog.
the one who made the choice to go off on his own. And Kicker's like, what the? Once again, like, Kicker has somehow become like an everyman, like, viewer proxy. Has gone from being, like, really abrasive and offensive to everyone to being like, why are you all acting like this? Which is an incredible character development for him.
Yeah. He really is the only guy who gives a fuck about Ironhide, and maybe Hotshot, but Hotshot's not willing to fucking go against Optimus enough to like actually do that shit. So yeah, it's Kicker. Yeah, man. Nerdshot Optimus is such a shithead. It's really
it's like
funny.
it is so cold and callous. I don't like Ironhide. I think he sucks, and it is still unbelievable that there is an Optimus Prime in any universe that acts this way towards his own soldiers.
Yeah, like, even fucking Murderbot, bloodthirsty Bavers Prime, he at least pretended to care about Jazz for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
If Ironhide got ripped apart by Megatron and died, this Optimus would go, damn, rip, anyway.
Particularly if he made the decision.
Yeah, if he's like, I'm going to fight, I'm going to hold off Megatron, you guys go, and Optimus would be like, well, he died because he was stupid. Damn, dog.
Yeah, literally unreal.
Maybe you aren't worthy to hold the Matrix like he thought at the end of Armada. Maybe you are. Maybe that fight against Megatron was right. You're too twisted. You're too, like, calculating. What's going on, boy? What's going on, big man?
Yeah. I also want to talk about how bad this episode looks.
Yes.
This episode looks remarkably terrible. This was one of the ones where I think about, that thing on, like, Tumblr, how everyone's like, haha, Tumblr users play with JPEGs like dolls. Well, that's how this show was animated.
Yeah.
By people dragging JPEG assets around a screen. It's so bad. This big fight that happens in the middle of it when they all attack Unicron looks like dog shit. It is awful. Hey, you know what's worse than looking at a guy being pants? Looking at a guy unbecome pants.
Yes. Ugh.
The moment when Inferno and Hotshot separate is one of the worst pieces of animation I've ever seen in my life.
And like the other parts of it's interesting, right? Because the other parts of that fight features a rare moment in Transport Energon of cars actually driving on a solid surface. There's actual vehicular combat in this episode. Most of the time, when they transform, they just kind of drive around in the void of space.
And to be fair, that is how this fight begins. Before it gets onto the land-based vehicular.
There's a fucked up thing. There's a Hotshot like partially transforms his arms out to blast Snowcat. Like he sticks his arms out of his car mode.
There's a lot of partial transformations in this show that are very uncomfortable to look at. Like,
yeah.
Let us not forget Ironhide's entire alt mode with his head sticking out of his, like, moonroof.
Man, yeah, that Ironhide's design is still so fucking ugly. Like, his whole head is just there. Like, it's just sitting on it's like there's a guy poking his head out of the sunroof, but it's his head.
Yeah.
Nasty stuff.
The last thing I have to talk about in this episode is Misha once again being so mean for no reason. Why is she acting like this?
They really, like, in the dub, they really made her, like, more mean, because in the sub she's like, I don't want you to be alone again, right? It's like that kind of thing. It's much more normal in Superlink.
She's, I guess in a dub, like, she's supposed to be like tsundere. Like, I think that's like that's the idea, but like, so she like goes after Kicker, and Kicker's like, Misha, why did you come here? It's dangerous. And she's like, well, why not me? It's
yeah, very
like,
aggro.
You think it's like, yeah, I care about Ironhide too. He's also my friend. And it's like, why And, like, Kicker's like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, just, like, be careful or whatever, because it's, like, crazy dangerous out here. And she's like, I can take care of myself, Kicker.
Yeah, she she says a lot of the
What?
same stuff in the sub. It's just not delivered in that way.
Yeah. And it's like, why are you being like this?
He's so fucking aggro, like at all moments. Is there anything else you have for battle stations? I will say I do like the idea of like drawing Unicron himself through a space bridge and just fucking blasting his ass.
Yeah. I mean, like, this was one of the episodes where what happened in it wasn't actually the issue.
Yeah.
As so much the execution of it.
Oh, we gotta talk about fucking Kicker and Ironhide's psychic link.
Oh yeah, they mind melded. It's fine.
He's got that new. I think Kicker might actually just be a new type.
That is for sure the vibe they are trying to go for.
Imagine if Dr. Jones lived in a mech show universe.
I mean, that's the issue with Dr. Jones, is that he is from a Gundam.
Yeah, he would absolutely, like, age 9 fucking Kicker would absolutely be in a war machine immediately.
Yeah, Dr. Jones would love Unicorn, is all I'm saying. IBO.
Dr. Jones is like Iron-Blooded Orphans.
There.
Yeah, he's using Iron-Blooded Orphans as like a fucking blueprint for future projects.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
That Gendo Ikari guy is a real fucking hero of mine.
It is actually crazy to me that they were able to get away with this, because it is so clearly ripping off new types. I don't even go to Gundam. Really.
No.
I watched like G Gundam, but like that doesn't have new types.
Yeah, that's sort of a different thing.
Yeah, like the only Gundam I have like no familiarity outside of what I've gotten through cultural osmosis with UC. But like this is so obviously a new type ripoff that it's kind of crazy that they got away with it.
He's not a new type, he's a flu type.
Doesn't it even do like the new type noise almost?
Yeah, it has like a pew.
Yeah,
it doesn't have quite the shing, but it does have like a noise associated with it.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not a shing. It's like a.
Yeah.
It's like a weird shudder noise. Anyway, that's battle stations. Here's the big one. Here's the one with all the lore in it. Episode 20, Alpha Q identity / Alpha Q's true identity.
Great. Good.
The Decepticons, who had apparently been hiding underground on Cybertron, start going apeshit when Unicron appears in the sky and rioting and stuff. Megatron says they're all posers and cowards, but he seems to think one of them, Shock Blast, might actually be useful. Because he's a real fucking sicko, which he proves later. Meanwhile, in Unicron's head, Rodimus fills Kicker in on what happened to Alpha Q's planet. It was attacked by Unicron, and in a last effort to defeat him, Alpha Q detonated it. This unfortunately did not defeat Unicron, and only sent him to sleep, and trapped Alpha Q within Unicron. Rodimus, who had promised to protect the planet, arrived too late. Upon meeting in person, Kicker proceeds to big-time Alpha Q before starting to beat the shit out of him, demanding to talk to his true face. Eventually, he does so. In the dub, this is represented by a multi-layered chorus of voices. And in the sub, this is represented by the voice of a young girl, which we'll talk about the reason why that is later. And he shows Kicker the rest of the story. The Terrorcons were originally his soldiers who died fighting Unicron, and his wish has been to restore his planet, which still resides within the Chaosbringer. But he cannot bring himself to face Megatron. Kicker tells him to nut up or shut up, and leaves with Ironhide and Misha. Alpha Q chooses the former as he begins piloting Unicron's head towards Cybertron. A lot going on here.
Yeah. So literally all I have, because Nero just did a very good job of actually recapping the episode, are just quotes from it.
The dub for this one seems a little fucking cracked.
So I want to I can go through some of these quotes real quick. So there was a point early on in the episode where Optimus keeps up with the Joneses. he calls the three of them, Miranda, Emily, and Dr. Jones, to say, "We lost your son."
Yes.
Hey, sorry. We lost your son and also your protege. And Dr. Jones is like, "Hey, what the fuck?" And Optimus is like, "Anyway, gotta go, bye." And Dr. Jones is like, "Hey, wait, don't hang up on me." And, you know, like, and behind them, Miranda goes, "Honey, you have to, like, trust in Kicker's instincts." And Emily agrees, "Yeah, when has he ever given you a reason not to trust him?" And Dr. Jones goes, "But I'm his father." And Miranda responds to this by saying, "You were never worried when he was little. You were always so preoccupied with your research."
Yeah, it's funny. It's basically the same in the sub, except what Optimus and Dr. Jones say to each other is like they basically just accuse each other of being too, like, treating the situation too flippantly. But it is really funny when Optimus just fucking hangs up on him.
It is very funny.
Even Energon Optimus, the guy we have noted as being kind of a callous, like, shithead, is sick of Dr. Jones.
I mean, him more than any other Optimus, I would think, given his history here.
Yeah. What is your next amazing dub interaction?
When Rodimus is introducing Alpha Q to Kicker, he goes, "Alpha Q, this is Kicker." And Alpha Q goes, "What kind of name is that?"
God, that's funny.
There's some great lines during the fight between Alpha Q and Kicker. Now, Kicker does end up being the one to beat Alpha Q's ass, but it is not as one-sided as Nero described at first.
He does have to fight off some claws, but the image of Kicker just
whacking him.
He's like whacking him with a lead pipe.
He's whacking him with the sword.
Yeah, but the noise is like he's whacking him with a lead pipe. Bonk, bonk.
Yeah. So, by the way, Grinder decided to come with him. That's the other thing. Hey, remember the mini-cons?
Yeah, remember
the mini-cons?
He's here. He's
anyway,
chilling.
Grinder's with him and the sword. Anyway, great. So as he's fighting off these tentacle claws, he goes, "That silly string doesn't scare me." Which is pretty good, but not as good as his line when he's whacking the shit out of Alpha Q, which is like Rodimus is like, "You gotta stop," and he goes, "No, I'm gonna crack his nut."
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna crack his nut.
You're gonna what? Oh my goodness. Alpha Q, I'm gonna bust your nuts.
The last quote I have here is from Megatron talking about Shock Blast, because literally all the rest of the Decepticons, including Tidal Wave is like, "We can't work with him. He's nuts." And Megatron responds to this by saying, first he says, just because Shock Blast has trouble following orders doesn't mean that you can expect that you'll be able to get away with it. With doing the same. So he's like, "Shut the fuck up." And then he says, "I want all of you to make an effort welcoming our nasty little friend back into the Decepticons."
Nasty little friend.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a funny, nasty little boy.
Yeah. The last note I do have here, which isn't a quote, it's just a note, is that Shock Blast's English voice is very good.
Yeah. So
I was like, I genuinely got a little bit of a chill down my spine when I heard him, which is like incredibly surprising for this series.
He's voiced by Brian Drummond, who voiced Blur in the Armada dub. Yeah, he's quite a good voice actor. He was also apparently the Ocean dub voice for Vegeta. So hey. I feel like it's so funny because I don't think they ever exactly say why Shock Blast is so unreliable in the dub, but in the sub
They just say he's a sicko.
yeah, they clearly they tell us exactly what happened, which is after the war ended, he tried to restart it by murdering a bunch of Decepticons to like.
That's funny.
So okay, as I said, around this time, I think I talked about this last week or the week before that. Around this time, Hasbro did not have trademarks for a few of the classic characters, and for some of them they still don't, like Jazz and Trailbreaker, I think. Sometimes they got around this by changing their names for the toys. For instance, I think every Hasbro released Trailbreaker toy has been called Trail Cutter.
Okay. Yeah.
But in Superlink, this is straight up Shockwave, or as he was known in Japanese, Laserwave. That was his G1 Japanese name. Which is interesting because obviously Tidal Wave's Japanese name is Shockwave, but that was not Shockwave's original name. So this is straight up supposed to be a new version of Shockwave. And he is like a sicko like all the other Shockwaves, but it's in a totally different direction. We'll see later. Shock Blast is like a hot-headed, unreliable. This is not a man of
science.
No, not a man of science or logic. Just someone who is completely willing to throw anyone and everyone under the bus. Which, I can kind of get into that. It's not really a Shockwave character we've seen. Obviously, we know Shockwave doesn't. He has no compunctions about betraying people, but he usually isn't so reckless.
Yeah, this is, I would say, I think of Shockwave as a sicko. I don't tend to think of him as particularly bloodthirsty in most iterations.
He's very cold.
This character is bloodthirsty. This is a man that wants to see the world burn.
I mean, yeah,
for the fire of it.
He literally, like, the two things he does after breaking free of his bonds. Once again, weird Decepticon bondage. He's like in chain shibari. The first thing he does,
just shibari.
The first thing he does is the guy comes up and is like, "Hey, Megatron wants to talk to you," and Shock Blast goes, "Great," and blasts him through the door to open the door and murders that guy.
It's a pretty sick shot, actually.
And then he encounters another Decepticon fighting with some of the guards because he's like breaking out of this underground prison. And he just uses this guy as a human shield and then blasts through him to shoot the guard so he doesn't have to move the guy aside to do it. What a freak. What a fucking freak.
Kind of into him.
So let's talk about...
Especially since he might be the only one besides David Kaye who can voice act in this series.
Yeah. Brian Drummond, he puts in some good work. So let's talk about Alpha Q's like the true voice or whatever, like the kind of the secret face of Alpha Q, which I do kind of like this scene where I think it's a little bit they fucked it a bit on the dub because he keeps asking Alpha Q to like take off his shell or whatever, but in Superlink he's screaming at him to like show his true face. And he says like he's hiding a coward's heart and stuff.
Sure.
So like I said in the dub, this is represented by like kind of the voice of Planet Q, like all of the beings of his planet.
Yeah.
Which I think I remember that being kind of a cool effect, and I like the idea of that.
And there is something very cool. Like when they first introduced themselves, like finally revealed themselves, there's a very like nothing Jon Snow moment where Kicker has spent it's been a long time. It's been like 5 minutes of this show that Kicker has spent trying to get Alpha Q to reveal his true self.
beating Alpha Q with a lead pipe. It's like, come on, bitch, open up.
Yeah, trying to crack his nut.
I'm gonna bust your nut.
Yeah, so like it's like it's been a long time, but like at the weight of it, like Kicker has gone sort of back to some of his old self-righteous ways, being like, I knew there was a real you there, and they're basically like, you don't know anything about us, like, we are the collective souls of, like, a billion dead people, And you are so small in the face of the scale of what we are. And it's actually a
Right.
cool moment.
Yeah. So the true voice's like sub voice takes a little bit of explaining because, like I said, in the sub, Alpha Q's true voice is like the voice of a little girl, and that's because apparently in the early concept stages of the show, Alpha Q was actually going to secretly be the princess of Planet Q, who had been like turned into this form by Unicron. That's not really the case, but like that's the one nod towards that. And then Superlink, that voice is very much the one that is the most like emotionally vulnerable and kind of cowardly one, right? It's like the one that it's one of those cases where actually the two different approaches are very, they're both good in different ways. Which we must give credit for the show when it does something that works.
By no means do you have to hand it to Energon, but
the Autobots literally, I didn't even mention them in this episode. They don't do fucking shit. they go down on Cybertron and Hotshot says, "Hey, wait a minute, there's a prison over there. Hey, wait a minute, Shock Blast is in there. Oh fuck."
And then they hang up on Dr. Jones.
God, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, I love the line of it. In the 7's even more clear when he's like, God damn it, I'm so worried about Kicker, and Miranda says, well, you were never really that worried about him when you were like doing experiments with him.
Yeah, when he was little. That's so funny, and she says it very cheerfully. She's like, why are you upset? You've never been upset in this kid's life.
And he's like, I guess he really has grown up. He's not the kid I cut the air supply off so he could float through the asteroid belt anymore.
Yeah, yeah, he's not the kid I almost lost on a spacewalk.
He's not the kid I tangled down a moon mine shaft in pitch dark. What a motherfucker. Alright, I think is that anything else you got?
No, these were pretty nothing episodes. I'm gonna be real.
I guess there's the reveal of like Scorponok was Alpha Q's like general and all that stuff. Like the Terror Cons are also tied to Planet Q. Like all that stuff is kind of all related back to Alpha Q, which means Megatron just jacked all his shit. He just fucking rolled up and stole everything. What an asshole.
I mean, to be fair, that is what Unicron Trilogy Megatron does.
He will swoop in and jack all your shit.
Yeah.
All right. We've got quite a few questions this week. Let me see if we have any on twitter.com.
I know we have one.
Okay. Someone with the Twitter at Optimum on Prime asks, "Hey, I have a question. Why are we doing this to ourselves?"
I think the tone was probably more along the lines of, "Hey, I have a question. Why are we doing this to ourselves?"
Well, it's a nonlinear history of the Transformers franchise on television, and regrettably, this was on television.
Yeah.
Gotta do it. You gotta eat your, I don't know, kind of off, not expired, but like suspect vegetables before you can get to your delicious like treats that are like your primes and your animateds and your earth sparks and whatnot.
All right.
Take us through that Discord.
On Discord, our first question comes from Werner John Herzog. If you were swallowed by an artificial human and sucked into a pocket dimension inside his stomach, how would you manage to contact the outside world / escape? Well, I don't think the first part is an option, and presumably I'd be shit out.
Yeah, you just gotta wait a little bit. Just gotta wait 8 hours or something. I guess. Well, although this is an artificial human, we don't know if they shit.
I might try to create some tummy trouble and see if I could get vomited out instead first.
Yeah. Because you make your way up to the brain and cross some wires to make them say a message or something.
I'm not sure that's how brains work.
It's an artificial human. Anything's possible.
Sure.
It's like an android or like a bio clone or like a we're just going on an Osmosis Jones adventure.
Sure.
But
Why
yes,
not?
I think the easiest exit is to simply wait.
Sidewinder Sabrina asks, does this count as a Fantastic Voyage episode?
No, they don't go in the whole thing where they go like in between. It's they don't even like go inside him really. Like they just kind of fly around in the gaps between his armor. They don't see any like weird goopy stuff like there was in the Armada episodes. Remember how fucking wet Armada Unicron's innards were? It was like meat everywhere. No, it's just like, I guess there's some of that in the head, but that's also not a Fantastic Voyage episode because that's just Alpha Q's house.
Cass asks, which Star Wars characters do you think had the plot armor necessary to survive an encounter with Unicron?
Darth Vader.
I don't watch Star Wars because I'm a Chad.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, I would probably say Luke.
Han Solo.
Han
Solo.
Solo does not have the plot armor.
Han Solo could have done this stupid, like, fly into Unicron's armor thing without almost trashing his ship, I bet. Could have done that a little better. That's all I'm saying. Who the fuck was flying that thing? Was that fucking Skyblast? He's a shitty pilot.
Sabrina asks, which Transformer has the bolts to accomplish both Death Star runs from 4 and 6?
Okay, so these are different, right? I know you're a Che, you don't watch Star Wars, but the one in A New Hope, that is the actual trench run because
yes.
That is like, it's just a big long corridor with turrets and stuff, and that's about like kind of accuracy and stuff. I think that who's like Inferno could do it. He's the sharpshooter. He's got nerves of steel.
I mean, since we aren't necessarily bound by series, I would say Perceptor.
Oh, especially IDW Perceptor could kill that shit. He could do that from like next system over. Now, the second Death Star one is the one where they fly into it. That requires way more like piloting skills. That requires you to like really kind of do some flips and tricks. So you need like an ace pilot for that one. So I guess one of the Seekers probably. Get Starscream in there. Although, you know what, he wouldn't have the bolts for it, especially not if we're talking about G1 Starscream.
It might be Megatron. He sure knows how to ride a plane.
That's true. Wait. All right, what's the next question?
Cass.
the fucking gears in my brain like grinding together. Wait a minute.
Cass asks, why is he called Unicron when he has 2 horns? Shouldn't he be called Bicron or Duocron?
I don't know. I presume they just thought it sounded cool.
Well, the Kron does not refer to
the horns.
A horn. A corn
Bicron
refers to the horn.
Bicron is like Bicon. Is Unicron a Bicon? We don't know we don't have enough information. Yeah. Duocron sounds bad. Duocron sounds like shit. I'm sorry. Bicron maybe. Duocron has bad mouth feel. Unicron, it just sounds good. I don't know.
Sabrina asks, man, that laser wave guy sure looks familiar and stacked. What's your take on this be-titted guy? Smaller tits than we're used to.
Yeah, not quite as busty as his other Shockwaves. This guy's more jacked. He's like the Chad Shockwave. He doesn't care about all that gay science shit. He's here to murder.
Yeah, he's Jockwave.
Man, the fucking the picture of all of the different Megatrons. It's like all of the like they're all arguing at the table, and it's like it's animated an IDW Megatron sitting off in a corner. Like all of the Shockwaves are they're having their little fucking science conversations, and then Shockblast kicks down the door, is like, "Yo, what's up? Jockwave in the house." And everyone's like, "Oh God, not him."
Not this guy. He does throw a mean kegger though.
Oh, absolutely. His parties are so wild that everyone who goes to them dies. But you know what?
Fun and murder.
They're great parties regardless.
Yeah.
Fucking Jockwave.
You like that one, huh? I will say, if nothing else, Energon has given me some of my best puns.
Uh-huh.
Nero from Disney Minus asks, "Don't you just hate it when your balls just start trying to grab stuff?" Yeah, well, that's why we have to crack that nut.
Yeah, he's got he's got to crack that nut. I'm gonna crack your nut, Alpha Q. Get ready.
Because your balls are stealing things. When your balls start becoming kleptomatic, you have to,
First we crack the shell, then we bust the nuts inside.
What?
That classic.
What?
That's a line from Transformers the movie. That's something that Frenzy says when he.
Oh, God.
First we crack the shell, then we crack the nuts inside. When he busts into the podcast studio that Blaster has.
Oh, great. Sabrina asks, "Is this the best iteration of Dinobots, or is it the best?" I'm going to kick you from the server.
They have a sword.
Joking.
I guess that's cool. But man, I do think they look better in robot mode, but their dinosaur mode is real fucking chunky looking. I don't know.
Now that we have the full reason for Alpha Q and Rodimus to want to bring back the devil, is it a good idea, or did they just come in from Stupid Town?
I mean, it does make sense. It's not like it isn't, they didn't just come in from Stupid Town. I do think that there is sense to it, and it makes sense for their characters.
I mean, yes
it's
and
still
no.
kind of dumb because you are trying to harness the power of Unicron, who is like a chaos god.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that, at what point do you consider hubris to be Stupid Town?
Yeah.
And I think my threshold for that is much lower than yours is. Because the idea that you can use a primordial chaos god for anything, that you think that is going to be a fight that you can win, is unbelievably stupid to me, even if there is, theoretical basis for it.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, it is kind of dumb, but also, just from a character standpoint, it does kind of make sense. I get why Rodimus wants this. I get why Alpha Q wants this.
I mean, I guess my thing is these are not mutually exclusive, right?
That's true.
This is not. It is possible for this to be desperation, and this is giving this show more credit than I should. But listen, desperation, losing your entire planet makes you do stupid things. If there was some chance that you could get that all back, who would say, if that happened to me, who would say what I would do, right? But just because it makes sense for me to want to follow that path does not actually make it a good idea.
Plus, consider how stupid all of the other stuff in the show is. So comparatively, this is actually there's some kind of track there. The destination might still be stupid, but at least it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes more sense than watching a guy you were friends with die horribly on your energon grid, and then your reaction is, "Get in the ship!"
Yeah. Yes. I do think that I'm drawing a significant difference here between smart and sensical.
Yes. It's sensical but stupid.
Right. Ruby Road Rage asks, "Imagine if Shock Blast was a mainstay in most Transformers media. What if every time a show or comic introduced Shockwave, it has to also bring on his even worse twin?"
Shockwave and Jockwave.
I think that would actually be very funny, because I know Jockwave would be the bane of Shockwave's existence in any other universe.
Yes, he would hate him so much.
And I think that's very funny.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny to just force
Can you imagine Shock Blast and IDW?
Oh,
what's
God.
up, bro? We're 6 billion years in the past. That's crazy.
The first
What's
thing
good?
Shockwave does in that situation is murder him right there. Yo, we could do so much, just shoots him immediately.
Yo,
peace and quiet.
you want to invent furries? I want to invent furries. Let's go.
Somehow a completely faceless character develops an eye twitch from being around this guy.
Jockwave creates the beefiest hyena null furry persona, and Onyx Prime looks at him and kills him on the spot. Our last question this week comes from Slipstream Sam. For something completely unrelated, how do you think each, or as many as you can stomach, of the Energon crew would do in a polite but somewhat passive-aggressive office job environment?
Okay, well, Snowcat's fired immediately. He won't stop yodeling.
I'm not doing the Decepticons.
Only the Autobots. Okay,
Only the Autobots.
Well,
So here's
Optimus is already thriving in this environment.
Yes.
This is already who he is.
Yeah, this is middle manager Optimus at his finest. So the problem with doing this for like most of the other characters in this show is that they don't have enough of a personality to tell.
I think the ones we can like actually speak on are Optimus, Hotshot, and Ironhide. I don't know. I guess also
Inferno?
I think at this point, actually, yeah, all of the main 5 are like,
And Jetfire.
and I guess also, so we'll have 6. I think we can also throw in Rodimus.
Oh, okay, sure. Rodimus does very well.
Yes, although I don't know. I think he's too much of a firebrand.
Rodimus, not to talk about Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is propaganda, but Rodimus is literally just Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I hate that, but it's true.
It is true. So he would be fine as long as it was like the right office.
Inferno, I think,
like the right industry.
Inferno is a pure professional. He can do anything.
Yes.
He'll be fine.
Skyfire is also like a people pleaser. He'd be fine.
Yeah, I think the only one who would have trouble is Ironhide. I think he just doesn't,
Hotshot, I think, might also eventually. Hotshot, I think, would be similar to me. Very upset about slow upward mobility.
Yeah.
I think he would get pissed off if he was in the same position for too long. Particularly, like, without getting a promotion, particularly if he was, like, doing the work of someone who was in a higher position. This is very specific to my life. This is, like, getting a little too niche, but I think, like, he would be good in an office setting up to a point, and then he would get bored of where he was, and then he would start having problems.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's like, I think he's, he's been here for like 10 years. He used to lead the Autobots. I mean, briefly, but he held the Matrix. And now he's just like, I think it seems like he's just been promoted once in all that time.
Yeah, and it might be a demotion, actually.
Jetfire is still Optimus' second in command.
Jetfire's still his top.
Yeah.
His government-assigned top.
And they don't even do that anymore, because Optimus has his fucking, like, little drones to play around with, to do all his sort of funny business with.
Right, that's why I'm saying that Skyfire is his government-assigned top.
But now he's Ironhide's government-assigned top.
Oh.
Now that's a real demotion. Folks! We've been Prime Cuts. You can follow us on Twitter at PrimeCutsPod. Join our Discord server. I don't know what are we gonna do after the end of this season. We usually stream the movies, but we ran out of those. They didn't, and I don't think we'll be finishing in time for any legal copies of Transformers 1 to be out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
do something.
It would have been if we had done our usual pace, but probably at this point, no.
Not worth it.
Yeah.
Not worth it. Yeah, by the time we get through the next one, I think it will be up on various websites that you can view.
Maybe we should do more harm to people and do the Machina.
No, because look. We're already watching this shit, and it's unpleasant enough. I feel like watching the Machinima show would actually do us severe psychic damage. Like,
maybe
it's so bad.
Maybe we should like pick a mech movie.
Wait, we'll just keep it. We'll just put it on and then walk away. We'll just go do something else, and everyone else has to watch it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That is often what I do when I stream the videos. Stream the movies, but maybe we should like find like some good robot movies.
Oh yeah, we can just watch. We can stream fucking Mithrigan.
Fucking Metropolis.
Yeah, dude, we have to watch all robot movies in order.
Right, that's exactly a linear history of robots in film.
So look forward to Metropolis, I guess, or whatever. I'm Nero. You can follow me on Twitter at Dragon Snuggler, on co-host at Dragon Sutra. Did I get that right? I sometimes get that backwards. No, I got that right. No, it is backwards. It's Dragon Sutra on Twitter, Dragon Snuggler on co-host. Cyclones with a 5 at the end of it. On Tumblr, you know, I've got Ray Free Heidelin and Toxicals around. They're on hiatus at the moment, but you can still find them. They're still out there. They're still a threat. And that's it for me.
I'm Audrey. You can find me on Tumblr, Twitter, co-host, and Blue Sky at Optimum on Prime. That's my funny robot internet show. You can also listen to the other podcast I do called Pot of Greed. It's about Yu-Gi-Oh! We've just started a 3rd season of 5Ds. It's fun. And that's it.
Noisespace.xyz. Various. There's so many shows you can listen to. Literally just go there and look. Dr. Huh. Sounds About Light. All this stuff. There's so much shit out there. You just have to look. You just open your eyes.
There are cathedrals, etc.
So until next time, I am going to repeatedly whack a Quintesson with a lead pipe until he busts his nut, transform and roll out.
I'm gonna welcome a nasty new friend into my old circle, transform and roll out.
Peach.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Transformers, more than meets the eye. Transformers, robots in disguise.
Transformers.